Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Club Lorcana podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jeremy Bertrioni. With me, as always, is Syed.
Hello, hello.
And then we have a very special guest on this very special episode of a podcast. This is Jonathan Williams, the Red Bull player. Jonathan, say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody.
All right. Yeah, great. That was great. So typically at our podcast, we like to start right up top with a metagame analysis. I think we're going to move that to the bottom of this podcast only because I want to get sort of the meat and potatoes of what we're talking about out in the open. Jonathan Williams was disqualified at Nationals, and this podcast episode is going to be about that. It's going to be about maybe we didn't think it was right. We think it's like sort of the birth, like the baby of bad policy. And so just to get us started, I wanted to give Jonathan Williams time to succinctly, for everybody that hasn't heard about this, I think that'd be best if you could just lay out the facts of what happened.
So the facts of what happened was, I guess after round 3, I lost my card. But I didn't know and went to a lunch break, went around talking to people, friends, and then came back after lunch break and started round 4, played round 4 to my opponent. And then I went to round 5 to where we got a random deck check. And I was like, okay, random deck check. And I was like, pretty sure everything's fine. And then random deck check. They went to deck check my deck for like 10 minutes. And then I was called into like the little conference room or wherever it is. And it was like, you're missing a card. And I'm like, what card am I missing? So they was like, yeah, it says 3 Maui Sharks. And here you go. You only got 2 Maui Sharks in your deck. And I'm like, what? Then I'm thinking, I'm like, did I mess up or did I play so many deck lists? I'm like, did I change something? And I'm like, no, I counted before the tournament. I know I had 3 Maui Sharks, and there was a foil when it was missing. And I'm like, I played exactly 1 full Maui Shark. So I'm like, where did it happen? What happened to the shark? And I'm like, I don't know. So I'm like, it's a 4-1 because I played it in one of my rounds. I killed my opponent with it, So I know I had it through the tournament, but I don't know what round I lost it. And then it was like, okay, well, go back to your seat, check your bag, your other deck boxes. It's like, did you change sleeves? And I'm like, yeah, one round my sleeve was sticky. I had to change some of the extra sleeves out. So I was like, all right, I changed my sleeves. Maybe I put it in my deck box or something on accident. Because, extra sleeves, you be like, oh, put a sleeve back into your deck box. And then that's what I did. Checked it. It's not there. There's nowhere to be found. I was like, Judge, I don't know where it's at. And then they was like, okay, we got to talk about this in a few minutes. And they went and conversated about it. And I'm just sitting there waiting for them to figure it out. And then the judge came back to the table and was like, do you remember where you lost it at? And I'm like, I know I had it throughout one of these rounds. I killed my opponent with it because I told him that I had a full Maui Shark after he killed the first regular Maui Shark. So I'm pretty sure I had it. So I'm like, maybe last round, I'm pretty sure I had it at least last round before. Go talk to my opponent, And he was like, all right, we're going to ask your opponent and see if he's seen it and everything. They went to the table and they talked to my round 4 opponent. And my opponent said he had a Maui Shark, but I don't know if it was full or not because he told me after the tournament. He was like, I know you had one, but I don't know if it's full or not. Sorry, dude. And then I was like, okay, well. And it was like, well, he didn't see it. And then they conversated for a little bit longer. And the round was like, it was like 20 minutes to the round waiting. And then I went back to the conference room and it was like, well, we had your Maui Shark for 2 rounds. And I'm like, oh. And it's like, so you couldn't have it last round, even though you said your opponent had it last round. And then I was just like, okay. So
sorry about
after
that.
Yeah.
You can keep going. Our video just froze. We just reset it, but all your audio is still there.
Yeah. After that, I'm like, so what do I do now? And it was like, well, here's your card. You're gonna get a game loss and shuffle your deck up and play your round. I'm like, okay, well, I just messed up. I got a game lost because I lost my card. I didn't count my cards. And at any tournament I went to, I played Magic, I played Pokemon, I played Yu-Gi-Oh before. I never ever had that problem where I had to count my cards to like make sure I didn't lose one because I never lost a card, I did play the Magic Pro Tour, and I did lost my draft deck because I was tilted one game, and I lost because my opponent top decked a good card, and I was like, "Yep," and I left my deck on there. But they actually called everybody, and it was like, "We found a deck box." That's how I knew, and I'm like, "Oh, it's mine's," and I got my deck box back. So when I went down to sit down and play my opponent, I told my opponent, I was like, "Yeah, I got a game loss. Well, let me see if I can win game two." And he won the die roll, so he was on the play, and I was down the game, and I was pretty tilted. But then 6 minutes went by, and I was on like the last few turns to beat my opponent because he missed his Hiram, and I played like double Hiram. He killed them all, but I drew so many cards, and I was just like so far ahead, and he was about to get ready to like scoop him up, and then the judge came to me and said, "Let me talk to you again." And I'm like, "What did I do this time? I got off my cards." So I walked to the side, and he goes like, "Yeah, things don't add up about what you said about your cards. You said you had it round four, but we had it 2 rounds ago, so things are not adding up. So I'm just gonna have to disqualify you." And I'm like, "Disqualify me what? Losing the card? Like?" And he said, "No, because you lied to the judge saying that you had a last round." And I'm like, "But I really didn't know if I had a last round. I'm just trying to help you find out where it was." Because the worst thing I was thinking of was if I didn't have it at all, then that'd be a DQ, you know?
Mhm.
Like if I had submitted a wrong deck list, then I'll be like, "Oh, well, DQ because I never had it throughout the whole tournament. So I'd be all the people with the wrong deck list, you know? But I knew I had it throughout the tournament. That's what I was trying to figure out. And that's what happened. I got DQ'd and I saw Zen and I was just like, yeah, they DQ'd me, you know? Cry like a baby, stuff like that. But nothing I could do about it.
So
I
I wanted to
filled out
ask you.
my form though, a little form, but it didn't matter. So
I
that's
wanted
it.
to ask you some questions about that fact pattern. The first one is, what's up?
Before we move on, the first thing I want to say is after when you left the tournament hall, I started crying too. It was such an emotional moment. I know that you
Oh
worked
Lord.
extremely hard, and I did not want to see your tournament end that way for sure.
Yep.
So, but before we move on from the story, I wanted, could you go over what happened in your round one? And because I just wanted to give people the full story of like something that could have played a part in the judge's decision.
So round one
Yeah.
was so I played my opponent and I knew him because that's the opponent that I beat in top eight of Vegas to get it into the top eight. And we played our first round after we sat down and talked to each other about decks and everything. So we played our round one. I won on the play, and then he was on the play, and then was going back and forth. I noticed the time running down. He knows time running down, so we're playing as fast as possible. I put lethal on board, and then I was like, "Please don't do this to me." And then he goes, "Be prep," and I'm like, "Oh my god!" And then we still played, and then went down to turns. And then I played Tomato and like a shark. And then he played Melissa Dragon, kill my Tomato, play his own shark. And then we both was at 11 lore. And then my point, he did not know what the rule was, but I played in like a lot of DLC, so I knew what the rule would be. And he called the judge over to ask what would happen on his fifth turn after he passed to me. And he goes, "So what happens if we both had the same life total and in other words, won the game is go to a draw, you know?" And the judge says, "Well, let me go check." So he left and checked. I knew what it was, but I didn't say nothing because they're really tight on this strict about this policy. So I was like, I didn't say nothing. And it came back and it was like, it's two judges there. It came back and it was like, so what happened is Jonathan won game one and he gets 3 points and you lose, you get 0 points. And my opponent's like, "Oh, well, I didn't know that. I just give Jonathan the win." And I'm like, "Oof, can't say that, you know?" And then the judge like, "Hey, you can't do that because the game already concluded, you know?" So, and he's like, "Well, I didn't know that I couldn't concede. I would have conceded earlier because he was a far ahead, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I would have conceded earlier." And then I was like, no, it's okay, you know. And the judge was like, well, be careful what you say because high penalties can happen right now and it'd be huge. And I was like, nope, I don't want no problem. I want game one and 1-0 and submit it and just let's go, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what I talked to you about it. I'm like, can he still concede? And he was like, probably not. And I didn't want to appeal to a high judge because, you know, a lot of strange things will probably happen and I don't want to, you know?
No, of course. I sat right next to you.
Yeah.
And they made, if you finished your match, they made you leave. So
Yeah.
I would have stayed and watched your match, but they did not allow us to do that.
Yeah.
So I saw you afterwards, and yeah, I mean that's what I recall happening. So
Just so that I get that fact out in like the cleanest bullet point I can. Jonathan had won a game. Then they went to time in game 2. Time ran out with them at the same lore. Their opponent, who had turn 5, expressed that they wanted to concede after they had passed the turn, and the judges prohibited him from doing so, basically.
exactly.
Okay. And so what is our analysis of that? Is that fair, unfair, following the tournament rules as written, or like not? How do you feel about that, Zan?
I mean, I think that like when they go to time and a judge becomes present, I think it's the judge's responsibility to, like, Miranda writes the situation, which is like, say everything that's on the line before the fifth turn ends. The opponent expressing that he didn't know the rules, didn't know that he would get 0 points. Points would just be lost into the void, is bad for all players.
Right.
And so Jonathan's opponent understood that and was trying to keep points in the system. It's actually beneficial for him to give Jonathan the win because it will make his tiebreakers better.
Sure. And I feel like during this episode a lot, I'm going to be playing devil's advocate for the judge. I want to make it like pretty clear that I think that Jonathan was like sort of wrong, like the victim of like bad policy, like during this day. But in this instance, when they make that announcement up top that no IDs are allowed and that a game of Lorcana has to be what determines a game of Lorcana, I can get where the judges are coming from here because they don't want anything other than the outcome of a match of Lorcana naturally to like determine. So it's almost true during this tournament that concessions are just like not possible.
Yeah, I feel like it's a Band-Aid on top of a Band-Aid, right? So if this tournament was best of 3, we wouldn't really be having this issue at the scale that it was at, right? Because we knew that if you get 3 2-0s, then you can basically split the rest, right? But it puts people in an awkward spot. So the Band-Aid for that is like no splits allowed. Everybody's got to play it out.
Yeah.
So with that being known, it's a Band-Aid on top of a Band-Aid. And so they have to be really strict about it to make sure that no one breaks that rule.
Yes.
Which, like, I get that. I get the judge's perspective on that. That makes sense. But again, it's going back to the format. It's like we shouldn't be trying to put Band-Aids to make a format work. Essentially, like, this Band-Aid would be prevented if even if it was best of 1,
That makes total sense. I want to now ask Jonathan some clarifying questions about the incident that it was his disqualification. Jonathan, so you lost your card in round 3, at the end of round 3. Is that accurate to say as far as you know?
Yes.
And then how did you... Where was that card actually? Because you didn't mention it in your story, but I've learned that you actually later on after your disqualification, you end up knowing where that card is.
So the card was found on the ground, and then I know somebody came up to me and said they know the person that found the card and turned it into a judge.
So after round 3, the card was found on the ground by another player and then turned into a judge. Is that correct? So at the time of them questioning you and going through your backpack and jacket, did the judges know that they had your card in their possession?
The head, I don't think the head judge knew, but the other judges knew because I guess he asked everybody around, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, we had this since round 3."
Okay, so I'm wondering. I mean, could you maybe shine a little light on like how conspicuous was it that you were going through your bag? Like if there was a judge in there that knew
I
that your
know.
card was missing and then saw you getting searched for a card, doesn't it seem like the judges could have returned your card to you in that moment?
Yeah, but I was like, I don't know how that happened, or if the judge knew that I was getting searched, or whoever found it. I don't know which judge found it. So it's like, you know, it's like
I,
a blank spot.
I only bring that up because the most unbelievable aspect of the story to me, the first thing that I thought when I heard it is if the judges recovered a card during the lunch break, after round 3, during the lunch break,
Yeah.
it seems like at the end of the lunch break, when everybody was seated for their match, they should make an announcement saying that they have recovered a card, right? Am I alone here thinking that?
No,
Yeah, that's what I think too. Because I was like, I didn't even leave the room. I just packed up. I played. We were about to go to time and blue red mirror match, and I 2-0'd him. And I was like, all right, put my cards up, put in the bag, and go to eat lunch. You know. So I was like, they had the whole lunch break because I sat there for a long time. I ate my food. I talked to Jonathan Lamb, talked to other players, seeing how they was doing, and I didn't leave that room until like the last, but 10 minutes, use the bathroom, then come back and then play round 4.
Right. Okay. So, and then just to be clear, your disqualification, it wasn't for not having a card. That was what your game loss was for. Your disqualification came from lying to a judge when they asked you when was the last time you recalled having the card. And did you tell them you were pretty sure that you had it in round 4 because you used it to kill one of your opponents?
Yes, that's what's the problem. 'Cause I said either it was round 3 or 4, but I'm like, I'm pretty sure it was round 4 because I remember doing it, but it wasn't round 4, it was round
It
3.
was round
That's what
3. So
happened.
you were mistaken
That's
in
what
that moment
happened.
when you
Yep.
when you told that to the judge, basically.
Yep. Yep.
So the thing about this is, I think that the judges put Jonathan Williams under duress. They were basically interrogating him in that moment because if that judge knew that the card was there and where they found it, they're asking him questions to try to like what incite him lying to a judge. I just don't. So the problem that I have with this, Jonathan, is I think that in this tournament, the judges misunderstood their role.
Yeah.
And spent time doing things that are like way outside of the like scope of what they're supposed to be doing.
I mean, I agree with that. And like I'm trying to see it another way. Like the goal of this tournament should be to play it out like the cleanest way possible. If we, like we can also speculate, right? Like there's a morality situation here, right? Where the judge is trying to like is basically saying you lied to the judge, and we're gonna disqualify you. The other way you can look at it is, I think that I think that they should ask themselves what is the benefit for subtracting a Maui shark from your blue red deck.
Oh, this is also pretty interesting, viewers at home. You need to know this. Jonathan Williams' registered deck was 62 cards. Missing the Maui Shark puts it to 61. The reason I bring that up is that a lot of the times you can find a benefit to like throwing a card away for like fixing your deck ratios or whatever, but that's only if it brings it to 59. If Jonathan Williams goes from 62 to 61, it's not like a cheat that he needed to do in the middle of the tournament, because if he thought that he needed one fewer Maui Shark, he would have just registered one fewer Maui Shark.
Exactly. So now let's do the example of where it would be beneficial. Let's say you're playing my version of Green Steel.
Okay.
And you played 59 cards.
Yeah.
That will give you an advantage because it will give you a higher chance of getting Diablo.
And the reason that we're saying this is because for the viewers at home, we want to make it clear. I personally don't believe that Jonathan Williams could have gained any advantage from any of the facts.
Yeah, and I think that if a card is found, the protocol should be an announcement.
Sure.
And everybody check. If Jonathan Williams then failed to find the card, then he is at fault. And, and we could go down that rabbit hole if that was what happened, but that is not what happened.
So Jonathan Williams, we want to give you a chance to really sort of like get your stuff out there to as many people as like possible. So outside of them needing to make an announcement, are there any other policy changes that you think could have basically made the outcome of that day different for you?
Policy change, they could have gave like for missing it for like 2 rounds, like they got a game loss,
Okay.
like a match loss or something like that. Um, I don't really know any other policies they would have changed, So that's why I was like, I was thinking about that too. I'm like, they could have gave me a game loss. I could have like went 0-2 and then played and got recovered my card,
Mm-hmm.
But there was no other like policy that I was witnessing that I was thinking about. I'm like, this, up in the air.
Do you think there was a flaw in the way the judges did an investigation? Because your DQ, again, was not for missing the card, right? Because missing the card
Yeah.
2 rounds, get a game loss, could even be the policy right now. But you were disqualified for the lying to a judge. So do you think that they conducted an investigation in a way that like should have been different or changed?
Yeah, so the investigation is like if they knew they had the card, then it's like why I'm like searching my jacket, searching my bag and everything that to figure out what the card was. Like what they should have did was call the judges and then be like, hey, if anybody's found this card recently, and then without having me just look through all my stuff, and then that should be like a policy or something.
The
Like
reason
round
why
up all the judges and be like, hey, team meeting real quick. Anybody found this card? Oh yeah, I did round 3. Then I would never been in that spot to even have to think about where I lost it at.
yeah.
I
So
have an interesting question for Zan. Why do you think when the judges recovered that card that they didn't try to return that card to the player, assuming they didn't know it was Jonathan, which I think is a wild assumption actually, because there were only a limited number of players in that room. You know where the card was found, and you can see Jonathan's like sleeves at table 1 and see that it's a match. So I think it's an interesting assumption that they didn't know it was Jonathan's. Why do you think an effort wasn't made to return that card to the player who lost it?
all right, I'm gonna jump a little bit, and I'm going to play the part of the judge. What I would be thinking if I'm the judge is, what if Jonathan actually has another copy of this card
Mm-hmm.
and he's sliding it into his hand when he needs it?
Mm-hmm.
So, as the judge, I would be thinking, if I find this card on Jonathan, then this is actually more. This makes it more suspicious.
Okay, great.
So that's me jumping a little bit and trying to figure out as the judge like what I would be searching for. But now, Jonathan, did they find another card on another Maui shark on you?
No.
That should end that
Right. So there you go.
that search. Yeah.
I mentioned when the news of the DQ was fresh, I was like, they need to make sure that the missing card isn't also on his like person. As it's basically said exactly what you said, because we've had times in, like, for example, Magic the Gathering, there was the cheating scandal where somebody would basically, in their pocket, they had their opening hand for Amulet Titan.
Yeah.
They would shuffle and present and, like, go to draw and then, like, come up, and then all of a sudden they had the perfect opening hand. The interesting thing about Disney Lorcana is Maui Shark is, like, not really a card you want in your opening hand, so the cheat there would probably be you just have it in your pocket to draw it whenever you want in the game.
Yes.
But they didn't find it on Jonathan Williams' person. So do you think at that point they should have returned the card to him?
I do. I think that investigation more proves that Jonathan Williams is not cheating.
Mm-hmm.
And like there are ways that the judge could be thinking, and this is us doing a complete deep dive of all the reasoning they could have. And like every investigation that or like protocol that we're thinking of is like proving that this wasn't malicious.
Okay.
Right? It just like wasn't. And I'm like having a difficult time of trying to think of other reasons.
I mean, Zan, let me put you in the seat you're the head judge of this event.
Yeah.
You've talked to Jonathan and he said, I'm pretty sure the last time I had the card was in round 4. That I think I killed my opponent with it because it's foil.
Yeah.
And I remember that. And then, but you know that the card was recovered in round 3. So now you know that when Jonathan Williams told you that, he was either mistaken or just trying to, I guess, cover up the fact that he doesn't know how long this card's been gone. What do you do in that spot if you're the head judge?
I'm going to zoom out a little bit and I'm going to say, as the head judge, the number one thing that I'm trying to do, especially at this point in the tournament, is make a stand of like this is like no cheating, like no tolerance for cheating, right? And I'm looking to make people who are on the border of that an example. And I think that like that mindset is only created because they've been instructed to try and fix best of two.
Okay.
And again, it just stems to the root of the problem, which is best of two. And I mean, and this is me saying it, like I've actually just been like the most like I've benefited the most from this format.
Sure.
Right. And I'm saying like this is not the way that we should be doing it, because it's creating this crazy outcome, right? It's terrible.
To clarify, when you say you've benefited the most from this format, you're just saying that you won the most in best of two.
I have.
Okay, great. I just want to do that way because you're not benefiting from the format. You're just winning the format. You're definitely beating the competition in the format.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm basically saying like, look, if there's someone that's going to say they love best of two, and it's allowing them to like win more, like I would be the person that would be the strongest advocate because I have the most financial incentive to do so.
Okay.
And I'm just saying like it's making everybody do things that are not good for the game or the environment, you know?
My next question has to do with Jonathan. Part of the reason that you've had to come on this podcast is sort of to get your story out there, because the judge program is so sort of insulated and like secretive about what happened. So people don't even know why you were disqualified. Do you feel like your reputation has suffered as a result of this disqualification in any way?
Yes, a lot. Because now everybody's like, this is why he always win all the DLCs. Like, I always day two at every DLC I went to. So I never been O2'd or, so I just get like 5 2-0s and then I'd be like, all right, it's time to split. Except for Atlanta, I went 7-0-2 because I went like undefeated. I went 6-0, and then I still play my matches against my opponents because I didn't know how it worked. I didn't know you can just split in, so I just played them, you know. But most people now, like local shops and everything, it's like, oh, well, maybe he's cheating now, So I got to go through all that all the time now. Like if I go play a tournament, it was like, well, we got to watch him, make sure he's not doing anything funny. I even had a couple people saying like some local shops don't even want me to attend their thing because I always win there. So I'm like, what? It's just crazy right now.
So Zan, you're somebody who has had an up and down reputation in the past. I think right now your reputation is where it deserves to be, which is extremely high among everybody. But you can't deny that ups and downs have been present in your life. Do you have any advice for Jonathan Williams in this moment where probably it's at like its lowest it'll ever be, according to how we both feel?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't think that you should stop playing. And I think that, when something like this happens, you just have to keep playing and demonstrating good behavior. I'll tell you, in Magic, it can be really tough, right? When a player starts winning a high amount, there's a lot of eyes on you, and it's either you're a good player or you got a question mark on yourself. And so, I developed some like really crazy habits of like making sure my neck, like my chin is over my shoulder whenever I'm shuffling someone else's deck. Just like small practices. Not saying that that's something that you need to do. It's just I decided that my route was going to be to like just continue to play my best, do everything in my power to let everybody know that I'm a super clean player, and and then it eventually washed away because there's like no accusations. There's hundreds of videos of you playing online and on video, and that is like the best evidence of you being a clean and good player. But right now, the immediate thing is going to be when an explanation isn't given by the officials themselves, is that it's just gonna hurt, and the
Mhm.
reaction is just not gonna be positive. But I just want to tell you, hang in there. You have a crazy bright future, and I I wouldn't want you to give that up because of you know the early mistakes
Mhm.
of judging, which is natural. This is year one. No, I don't expect anybody to be perfect, and if there's judges listening, I want them to know that I commend them for a good job they've done so far, and there's always improvements that can be made. The goal of our podcast is to continue to improve things so we can be in a better place than we were yesterday. And yeah, I just think that this was one dark moment that I just don't want to see ever happening again. And I certainly don't want you to leave the community. I know that you work extremely hard and you're a crack player.
Yeah. So I tried that like tilting the head, shuffling thing just for this tournament, and that's probably why I lost my card.
Oh,
Yeah, I was trying to be like professional. I was like, I'm gonna tilt my head, not look at the cards, make sure it's like that, make sure my sleeves are perfect. Or I changed my sleeves before the tournament. If any sleeve got any kind of damage on it or anything, I changed all my sleeves to make sure it was perfectly fit for this tournament. I didn't like try to consider any splits or IDs or anything. I was just like, I'm just gonna play it out. I'm not trying to get nothing. I had no warnings this tournament either. That's a big thing. I had no warnings. I had no really big conflicts throughout the tournament, and I just try to play the best I could professionally.
yeah.
I wanted to ask you, Jonathan, how you planned on moving forward for this. Is this the type of event that you think you should dig your heels in and like sort of demand an apology for, or are you just trying to like put this behind you as fast as possible? You certainly almost never want to talk about it again. What is your attitude about the event and what happened moving forward?
um, so recently I was depressed about it. I was depressed and I was like sad that it happened to me, and I was like, you know what, probably just give up on the game. Maybe if they have like an online client later down the line, I'll still play that, but just not play paper. And I'll just go back to playing Magic Online and stuff like that, because then I don't have to worry about any paper shenanigans. I could just play online and win online like I used to do. And then I was like, but the whole world came to me. Like I have so many comments and inboxes and Twitter messages about they're like they don't want me to stop playing. They want me to still playing. Some people's like, I still gotta beat you, so you can't quit now. And then I got so many new friends that I brought into the game. They started to play and go to their own DLCs and stuff. So I was like, I guess I'll just keep playing for now and see what happens.
I think that sounds good. Is there anything
Yeah.
else you want to say about this before we move on to the metagame for the set
Mhm.
championships? Because I think that's next up
Yeah.
on our ticket.
Yeah. This is one thing though. I was thinking about it and I was like, if I was trying to be sneaky or something, like I had extra sleeves, right? So I was like, if I try to sleep, we had my binder on me and stuff. I could have like when they said, "Oh, we missing a Maui shark, go check your bag," and the judge left me to go check my bag, I could have like put another Maui shark into another sleeve or something, and be like, "Oh, here you go, I found it." I thought about that recently, but then that'll be infinite worse if they had it the whole time.
Yeah, that definitely would have been a lot worse
Then
for you.
they're like,
Well,
"Oh, so you found it, but we got it right here." And I go, "Oh, I don't know where that came from." So it's like I had an extra Maui shark, but I wasn't trying to be malicious or sneaky or anything. I was just like, I don't know where the foil was at. So, because I didn't have to tell them that it was foil. I could be like, oh, it's a random Maui shark. I don't know, stuff like
um,
that.
I think that the takeaway is that the disqualification was for being
Yeah,
dishonest or lying to a judge.
yeah,
But I think that what you're trying to say is there was moments where you could have been dishonest and you never
yeah,
took those moments. You were just
yeah,
mistaken when you said when you thought you last had it.
yeah.
I guess the question at everybody's mind is going to be they're wondering if when you said I think I had it last round, was that an effort to
hmm
minimize the penalty that you foresaw when you were talking to that judge?
No, because I was like, So the penalty that I foresaw is I'm getting a game loss.
Okay.
I know how usually the game works. Like play Magic. If you lose a card or something, you get a game loss. They put you get like a blank energy or whatever, not energy, but Pokemon.
Land.
But you get like a land. You put the land into the deck, and then you just play with a basic island or something in their deck.
Mm-hmm.
So I already knew I was getting a game loss. I wasn't trying to find no other way out of it, nothing like that. I was just like, but I know I had the card, because I wanted them to say I didn't have the card throughout the tournament. So I'm like, I know I had it. It's either the last round or round before. Maybe my opponent might have saw it, so you can go ask him. So that's what I was trying to put out there. I was like, yeah, so I know I killed my opponent with it. So either round 4 or round 3, pretty sure round 4 go check, but it wasn't. It was round 3 because I talked to my opponent after the tournament, and he was like, oh yeah, it was me that you used it on, and I'm like, it was round 3 that I had it, so I'm like, I don't know how to fix that. So, you know,
Thank you. That answer was actually huge for me because
Yeah.
that was sort of the only thing I had
Yeah.
left in terms of devil's advocacy was like, if Jonathan Williams was attempting to minimize his perceived punishment, that could be bad, quote unquote. But it sounds like not even because he didn't even think there was going to be that punishment like in the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
So that's interesting for all the doubters, all the haters.
Yeah. So another small thing from this I wanted to talk about was, so I pile shuffle at tournaments, and there's been a debate whether pile shuffling is actually useful or not useful.
Once around.
And so,
Yep.
like if it's going to be like this, it's more. It is really important that you take your uh once around pile shuffle and use it, because I mean anybody can lose a card. In Toronto I lost a card right before the top 64, right? And when we were what do you call it, getting ready for the judges to check our decks, I was missing a rabbit and I was playing red purple, right? And so what happened was I was playing against Shark, who was also playing red purple with the same exact sleeves, and he took one of my rabbits. And so before I turned in my deck, I was able to. I told the judge, hey, I'm missing a shark. I mean, not shark. I'm missing a rabbit. And I just said, hey, does anybody have an extra rabbit? And someone gave me a rabbit, and I put it in my deck. And later on, I gave that rabbit back, and he wanted me to sign it for his son, which is all which was cool. And but yeah, I just think that before you play, you just want to have the right deck. That's the goal. Would I cut a rabbit from my red purple deck when the meta is red purple v red purple? No, I don't. I have no interest in going down to 59 cards in my red purple deck and cut rabbit.
Yeah, you would not cut rabbit, especially at the time.
Exactly. So, like I lost it the night before. I played the Swiss with the proper 60, but it just happens. It's a 1 out of 60 cards or 62 cards, and it can get lost. And I think that we should change our stance on pile shuffling while it's like this.
Okay.
So just wanted to put that out there.
So for the players, make sure you pile shuffle. I have bad news about if a judge is asking you a bunch of questions. It's almost the same news it's almost the same advice I would give somebody if they were like under a deposition, which is like if you don't know for sure, don't try to guess. Just say I don't recall. The reason that I hate to tell people that is because I was in law school for a year, and that's what I would tell my client in a criminal defense case.
Yeah.
Don't guess. I don't recall. I don't know the answer to that.
You need to be 100% sure about whatever you say.
If you're not 100% sure, just tell them you don't know.
Yeah.
I guess that's what we're going with for now until judging policy reasonably changes, because had Jonathan Williams followed that advice, presumably he would not have been DQ'd.
Yep. So I think that this is a good stopping point for what do you call it? Good stopping point for the discussion on the case.
Okay.
Unless
Yep.
Jonathan Williams, is there anything else you wanted to put in?
Nope, that's all.
That's all.
Let's talk about the
Yep.
metagame.
Set championships are
Yep.
underway. I've already won 2 scars. Zan, how many scars do you have?
1.
Wow. That is not as many as me, huh?
Yeah, I played 1.
Must be rough. I played 2.
Yep.
Jonathan Williams, have you been able to get out to any set championships?
No, I took a break for a while, and I was like, I went camping, fishing, and everything else.
Hey.
And then I will start this weekend though.
Sweet.
I love that. You know, I think taking a break
Yep.
for yourself is one of the best things that you can do.
Yep.
I guess everybody already knows this. Jonathan Williams, what are you planning to play for set championships?
So usually set championships, I play different decks, just to
Oh, yeah.
have fun, and because I'm a good player, so I usually still do good and get top 8.
Mhm.
So, but my first one, I'm gonna probably play blue red just to win first place mat, and then I'm gonna have some fun with Amber Steel, and Blurple, even Blue Steel too.
And Blurple. Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yep.
Are Diggity Hole or songs?
Amber Steel Mufasa. I think that's more fun.
Ooh.
Amber Steel, Mufasa. So I will say that I've
Yeah.
been playing red purple for these.
Yep.
Pretty much my only losses have been to Amber Steel, Diggy Hole.
Yep.
It's knocked me out from top 8 to top 4. I made top 4 in my first one and died to Diggy Hole, and then made top 8 of my second one and died to Diggy Hole. Shout out to player Brian Genosa. Good games. I can't believe I lost to him again. I want to kill that guy in Lorcana.
Yeah, I lost to Kevin from Lux Gaming on Blurple. Yeah, and I was playing Green Steel. I think Green Steel is a good deck, but the version of Green Steel that we made was just for that tournament, and I didn't make a single change. Would I make changes to the deck? Maybe I'd play like a prior older version, but I think that I'm gonna take a break from Green Steel. I feel like I conquered that deck, and I'm actually gonna be playing some blue red. Just I think it's more chill. I almost played blue red at Continentals. I think Felicia is really good right now. I'm gonna be playing 3 copies of Felicia.
3 copies of Felicia, the 3/1 Reckless for 1.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan Williams, you're a blue red expert.
Yeah.
What do you think? 3 copies of Felicia in blue red.
Oof. I don't know about that one because Felicia, I saw a lot of people playing it. I thought about it, but I'm like, it stopped Flynn from triggering. But it just like if they got like a broom or a Trimball's follower, is gonna trade when they quest with it. So just and then
Is it,
Flynn will still
though?
trigger.
I guess Zan's referring to you could play ice blocks and potentially, if it's a magic broom, ice block their
Yeah.
1-drop and kill it with Felicia, and Felicia lives
Yeah.
to fight another day, something she rarely gets to do.
Yeah, but if you play an ice block on turn 1 and then like playing Felicia afterwards or something like that, I think it's gonna be pretty like you gotta like play Felicia on 1 and then get him with an ice block on 2. And if you got Tipo in hand, you're not gonna be able to like do your curve right.
Of
But-
course.
So you gotta have like ride the sea to do it.
Right,
Yeah,
you have
go
sail the edge, ride sea.
sell
Exactly.
the sea, and then ice block to do it. To then trigger that and stop it.
Yeah.
Sounds like a
I'd
pretty
rather
good
play
hand
like
to me.
Mulan.
Yeah, I played a bit online on Lorcanito and played against Diggity Hole 2 times in a row. It was pretty nice. Basically, I played it on my turn 1, and they played a Daisy Duck, and then I just sail ice block, put 3 damage on it. They played a Piglet, and then I was just able to just wipe their board with that one Felicia. Basically, my thought process behind the card is, I can stop. It's basically the card. It's a card that can potentially buy you turns in the early game, right? And this deck already is the best finisher in the game. So if you have an inkable card that has the potential of stealing the game for you against Flynn Rider or any of these hyper aggro decks, it's in my opinion, it's worth it. So in my testing, that was my thought process. It's like, okay, I'm beating the mirror nonstop already. All I need to do is figure out how to beat these hyper aggro decks. I'm willing to play this card. And at first I was playing Gaston, but 2 is a lot different than 1. Like 1 with Sail, like just creates so many more possibilities. And if Daisy Duck ends up being the one that ends up being most popular, then I will go back to a build that has Ruby Chromacon, which allows you to take out Daisy Duck. And so Sail is the card that has really made Felicia real. And I did not think Sail was, without Sail, it's worth it. Because again, you don't want to play it on turn one every single time.
Right.
The fact that you can still play it on ramp and still play it on turn two is what makes the card good. So
interesting.
Yeah, you should try it.
I'm gonna try it, but see. And then when they like Cinderella and kill it, and I'm like, pretty bad.
So I'll tell you something really funny is if they start doing the Cinderella play to try and beat it, then you just ignore it, and that means that they didn't play the Daisy Duck on turn one, which allows you to, which makes the race so much easier. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
right. I mean, if Cinderella is your preferred one drop that you want to see, and then they lead on Cinderella, looking at you saying like, "Haha, now your Felicia's done for," you just ink it and move on with your life.
Exactly.
That's funny. I never thought I'd be playing Felicia. You know, I thought about it. And I was like, it's not Flynn, but I'm like, it just if I don't got an ice block, it's gonna trade into stuff I don't want it to trade into.
But you
That's
are
what I've
an
been
ice
thinking
block
about
deck.
it.
And also,
Yeah.
what do you mean you don't want it to trade? It seems like if you trade for a one drop, that's mission accomplished for your one drop.
Yeah, imagine if you could gain 3 lore for 1 ink, 1 card at the end of the game, or 4 lore, or 5 lore, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know you're gonna win in the end game anyways, so might as well deal with the early game. So this is the reason why I almost played Blue Red at Continentals. I also felt like Blue Red Mirror was finally way more skill intensive because it wasn't about Lucky Dime anymore, and you had answers to Lucky Dime now, and so that's the reason why I was, Blue Red was my top choice for probably 2 or 3 weeks before this, like 2-3 weeks straight before this tournament. But yeah, I mean, Felicia, you should retry it.
So my answer to Diggy Hole deck was playing Baby Sisu, and I was playing 3 Vitalispheres. So I go turn 1 Vitalisphere, turn 2 I could play Tipo, or I could play Cell, play Popsicle. And what I would do on turn 3 is they got Daisy and like Piglet, or Daisy and Smee. I go play Baby Sisu, kill the Daisy, Vitalisphere, kill the Smee because it got damage on it. And then I killed 2 of the guys already. And then I'll play Maui on turn 4 to kill anything else they play. And then after that, Maui sings how far I go, and then I just snowball the game.
You played Sisu with 4 toughness.
No, the one that banishes one drop.
I mean, I still play 3 copies of that. I'm not cutting that card to play Felicia.
Yeah.
The cut for Felicia is actually Madame Medusa. So if you think about it, it's like dealing with a similar threat, just a different part of the game. I'm not gonna cut Baby Sisu.
But also, that's the thing I deal with it with. Other than Felicia, I use the Sisu Daring Visitor.
Sisu is the best version. Sisu is what makes the deck what it is. You just do not be cutting Sisus to play Felicias.
Why I was playing 62 cards, right?
I know.
I did.
You said why? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So I was playing 62 cards because I couldn't figure out the last 2 cards I wanted to fit into my deck. But so I was playing Great Stone Dragon because I needed it versus like the Mirror and discard deck, And I was like, you know what? I might run to Zan Syed. So I need because I was playing 2 ice blocks. I was like, I need a 3rd ice block, and I need another Baby Sisu, because I'm like, if I play into him and he go Diablo put into the Cove, I need that ice block Brawl. Or if you don't have the Cove, I could do ice block Sisu, and then you got to deal with that,
Yeah.
Because I already knew you was gonna play Green Steel. I knew you was gonna. I was like, that's why I was playing 62 cards. So I was like,
I want to ask about a different deck, and I want to ask you because I don't know the answer. If I'm playing green purple,
yes,
how do I feel if I get paired against Diggy Hole?
You are favored.
Okay. In that case, I think green purple might be the move for set championships.
It depends on which version. I think the version that Artabax's version is the one that you would want to play if you want to be favored against Diggy Hole. If you play what's his face?
Here in Atlanta, there's like 2 decks. It's Well, there's 3.
You know the 62 card version of green purple.
Yeah.
Who was that?
I don't know. Moyen?
No, in Continentals. I played him in top 8.
Mo Shamblin.
Mo Shamblin, yes. Mo Shamblin, great player, played insanely well, but that deck literally loses to mine. Dwarves Mine.
Dwarven Mine. Yeah, 7 Dwarfs Mine.
Yeah.
Not Dwarven Mine.
I can see it.
Yep. It just gets absolutely decimated by it. And so if you want to play a version, you got to play Artabax's more mid-rangey green-purple version, which is favored if you play it correctly.
Oh. Okay, great. So it seems like the decks for set championships, especially in Atlanta so far. You have Diggy Hole.
Yep.
Red Purple.
Mm-hmm.
Red Purple, probably the most popular deck in Atlanta.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, I'm just letting you guys at home know it's absolutely true. If you look down the tables, it's Red Purple all the way through. You also have Blue Red.
Yep.
Would you say that cutting dime made Blue Red a lot worse against Red Purple, or like what?
It definitely made it worse, but I think that what do you call it? Jonathan Williams' perspective on it is probably better and deeper.
Jonathan Williams, how do you feel about the Red Purple matchup as the Blue Red player?
So cut and dine is pretty bad because you don't have no answer that can just snowball you the game. Because once you play dime, usually when I play against red purple, I'll be like, all right, I'm vision. When I vision, I see dime, I'm putting dime in my hand. I don't care if it's higher rooms, I don't care nothing. Because eventually you fill the board up, they're gonna be prep you, right? And then you just like play dime. And then they be like, okay, now we got to end the game fast. They go like play genie or a rabbit, try to draw cards, and they go beat Sixu, wipe their board, activate dime, game 3. They go either play Melee Tremaine, sacrifice it, and then you can play like if your ice blocks out, you can play a baby Sisu plus Grandma Tala, activate dime, and you just keep on checkmating them. And then once you get Tamatoa, you like play Tamatoa, or I got Popsicle, dime, ice block. Well, I'm gonna gain 6, and they be like B prep or Tremaine, and you like okay, here's another one, gain another 6, and then it's like game over after that, you know. So I've been trying the location to Matt Up Manor because once they beat prep and you go double manor, it's really hard for them to like clear the board, and then you just follow up with a B prep and you just protect your 2 locations, and you just gain 4 lore, gain 4 lore, gain 4 lore, and they finally kill them, and you play another one, and they're like, okay, that's the game. Because most red purple decks are cutting like Maui's, and some are cutting Elsa's. Like you see Ed deck, he cut like Maui's and Elsa's, and just playing 4 Tremaines, 4 B preps, and I'm like, locations would be really good in that matchup. And that's what I'm figuring out.
Yeah, I mean that makes total sense, and I definitely think that 0 dimes is crazy, incorrect.
Incorrect. Playing 0 dimes. You heard it here first.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that wraps it up.
All right, I'm all set. You guys can find me on Twitter at MoxJeremy. I just posted my red purple list that I top 8'd 2 set champs with. Jonathan Williams, where can they find you online?
You can find me online anywhere at Dragon John Z. Not Dragon Johns, the Dragon John Z. I know it's like Dragon Ball Z, but that's not the story. That's not how I made the name. But yes.
Find out on the next episode of Dragon John Z.
I did a little bit of that some too.
All right, Dragon John Z. And then Zan, where can they find you?
You're already here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you go check out Jonathan Williams. And I mean, he posted a video early on, so if you wanted to hear it first, you can find it on his YouTube channel, which we'll post in the description.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
All right, bye.